many different things. It's the home of trees and rocks. It's the home of clouds and thunderstorms. It's the home of, many animals. Many nations live here. And so I want to acknowledge all of those nations that live here and the great spirit of this land. So the Memegwesiwak, the Benabe Koyak, the Ogojoniniwak, the Pahisak, all of the spirits that live here on these lands that my people have grown to know. And so I want to acknowledge all of them. And I also want to acknowledge this life force that is here, these these natural laws that exist here that have spirit. I want to acknowledge that spirit of this land that governs everything. And I ask that it has pity on us today as we go forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Isaac. So just a resource for teachers to access, there's the website and password for Education for Justice. If Jody, if you don't mind typing that out in the chat box so that teachers can have access to it. The username is St. Michael with a hyphen, and the password is justice 4. All on this website, you'll be able to find some great resources for Catholic education for all grades, and it also really aligns how the Catholic social teaching lines up with a lot of our education as well and what we're doing. So there's great resources there for teachers. So as your moderator, I'm going to go through some of the etiquette for the day. So please keep your video off. Stay on mute. As your moderator, I'm capable of putting you all on mute, and just so please take no offense to that. It's just easier to hear, and with this platform, we tend to get a lot of feedback. So it's important to stay on mute and keep your video off. So with that, you use the chat box to ask questions or make comments. If you get any digital feels from what's going on here and the passion that Jody and Isaac will speak about today, make sure the chat box is a great way. As the moderator, I'll let them know when there's questions, and then we'll try to have a question period at the end to make sure everybody gets their questions answered. If you're unable to see or hear the presenter, let the moderator know in the chat box. I'll do my best to support you and get you back on track to hearing what's going on. So just to note that this webinar will be recorded. So as soon as I exit out of this present screen right now, what's going to happen is that you guys will see a recording that the session's being recorded. From that point, there's a privacy agreement at the top there if you need to review it, but we keep it and it will be posted in our organization. Okay, so sorry, I'm just having a little bit of technical difficulties. Okay, so yeah, and just a reminder too, for this format, you have the toolbox at the bottom there with the video, the audio, and the chat. So to access your chat, you just have to press that little square that looks like a talk bubble. Okay, if you have any questions, you can put that in the chat box. So right now, I'm going to pass this over now to Jody and Isaac to take over. And Isaac, if you could do a brief introduction of yourself, and Jody, thank you.
Hold on. I'm going to quickly, before you change the slide there, Priya, I just want to notice there at the top, you'll see where it says recording has started. If you see that on your screen, you can just click the little dismiss button, and then it'll take it off your screen so that you don't have to see that the entire time. So that's just a little logistic thing.
Thank you for bearing with us as we learn how to use this ourselves. So thank you very much. Jody, Isaac, you're ready to start. Thanks.
Go ahead, Isaac.
Okay. Ani bonjour. Manjanap kinege go na be. Meanwhile, bam giza condition cause. Kinebe guk chabiga is what and doing jabba. I'm from the Fish Clan. I'm from Serpent River First Nation, and I reside at Nimpi Ajbakong, which is our language and cultural revitalization camp that is off-grid. It's north of Elliott Lake, and that's where I am right now. And it's an honor to be here. Thank you very much.
Hi, Jody, you're on mute.
That's awesome. These are the things that happened. Okay, so where was I? Bonjour, mianga, jtakwe dijnaka, sa mekdodem, Anishinaabe kwe, mimwa Irish kwe and Dao. So hello, everybody. I'm Jody Williams, and I work as the Indigenous Education Lead here at Dufferin Peel. And so just delighted that you're all here with us, navigating this crazy new online survival mode that we're in. But we're really excited. I just want to acknowledge Isaac again for being here with us today. And so we're going to share with you this resource that Isaac has been a huge part of. And so I'm just going to share my screen here, and we'll get this up for you to follow along with. And and also Kevin Williams is going to be joining us as well, and he's going to be showing how you can use this resource directly in your online classrooms. So he'll be joining us for that. So you may be familiar with our with the original platform, which was on the website helpingourmotherearth.com, and that link is still live. It's still working, but today we're very excited to showcase this new our new website here. And so eventually we will point that other link, helpingourmotherearth.com. That will be, so if you type that in, probably maybe at the end of this week, it will now default to this new website, Lessons from the Earth and Beyond. So we have a few little other pieces in here. So, but for today, we are going to focus on the first main part of this new website, which is the Lessons from the Earth resource. And this actually, so just to kind of, for those who don't know how it started like all good things, with a story. Oh, I don't know. Somebody's got their, if somebody ever does not have their mute on, if you can mute yourself, great. And so, yeah, so it began with a story, and it started with the kids wanted to paint something on the wall, and Isaac came in and told this incredible story, and they said, can we paint it? And then, and so I asked him, and he said yes, and then he talked to his friend Christy Belcourt. And if you don't know who Christy Belcourt is, you should definitely find out who Christy Belcourt is, because she's an amazing person and just incredible artist. And so she decided to come on board, and then it turned into we never did paint it in the classroom. We ended up doing these murals. And but the story, which I'm going to turn it over to Isaac in a moment here, you know, how he's explained it to me and how I've kind of come to understand these things is that when we say these stories have medicine, and when I think about medicine, my first thought always goes to, you know, Tylenol or Advil or something that we take pharmaceutically. But medicine is more than that. It's anything that's going to create well-being in your life, and that can manifest in so many ways other than just a physical change. It can help you emotionally, spiritually. There's so many ways that it can help create what we refer to as Mino Bimadzuin, or to have a good life. And so this story is still alive and traveling with us and expanding into new and more beautiful things. And it's has such a powerful message, and even more so to today, as I'm sure Isaac will comment on, it's definitely related to today's current situation that we're in. And so before we dive in, I'm going to now turn it over to Isaac, because we talked about this, and I think you need to hear the story. So he's going to share with you this story.
Well, thank you so much, Jody, for inviting me to be here today, and for, of course, creating this amazing resource. It's always special to be able to tell these stories. In the Ojibwe language, they call these stories Otsukan. What that means is spirits. So when we tell these stories, we're always telling about spirits. And I remember years ago, my grandfather, he said, I want to take you to a sacred site. I want to show you a sacred site. He says, so be ready. I'm going to pick you up at 2 o'clock in the morning. I said, 2 o'clock in the morning? I said, why are you going to take me at 2 o'clock in the morning? He says, because that's when you go. And so I was ready, of course. With my grandfather, you had to be 20 minutes early. So if I wasn't ready at 1:45 or 1:50, he was already gone already. So I had to be extra early. So like 1:30, I'm at the door waiting for my grandfather. And we jumped into his van, and he took me to this place called Quikwigwang, which is a bay on the lake. It's a very beautiful bay. And the sky was unbelievable. It's like the stars had just lowered themselves for us. It felt like we were amongst them. We were inside of them. And he says, the sacred site that I want to show you is hanging above our heads. He says that very sacred place is up there. He said that sacred site is the Big Dipper. He said that's very sacred to our people. And he made a fire. And he started to look at me with his old eyes. He was old. He was so old that his eyes, they look like fish eyes because they were so old. I could just stare into them for forever. The knowledge that he had, his life experiences, were in his eyes. And I never kept my eyes off of him. He said, we sat there, we made a fire. And then, of course, he told me this beautiful story. He said, my grandson, a long time ago, he said, when we came to this earth, he says, we came through 4 powers to get here. He says, each time we came through a power, we gained a set of knowledge. By the time we got to our mother's belly, he says, we're filled with knowledge. We're filled with medicine. And once we came through that sacred hoop of life, and we entered this lodge here in this world, he says, we were given special instructions. We knew the instructions as babies. He says, this land here has what's called Chinaknagewaninanen. It has these big laws, sacred laws. He says, and those laws are what keeps everything in order, what keeps everything in balance. He says, as Anishinaabe people, he says, we follow these laws. We don't break them. And he says, the animals are to be our government. Because the animals will never forget their original instructions. The animals will always be faithful to these natural laws of this land. That's what he told me. Of course, I was so fascinated. I was just staring at him. And he said, a long time ago, he said, the Anishinaabe people, they started to forget those laws. They started to break away from that original path. They were told, only follow the animal trails. Don't make your own trails in the bush. Everything you need in your life will be on those animal trails. All of the medicines, your food, everything that you can think of will be there. He even told me, he says, a spider web will catch many things. He says, a spider web, it has ears. He says, all of the good songs that the birds sing will get caught in that net. And when you go by that net, he says, you receive some of that good medicine that's inside that net that spider makes. He says, the forest is alive. The trees talk to each other. They're nations. The animals are nations. He says, there's a magic here. It's everywhere. He says, so when we live here, we have to be respectful. We have to live in a dignified way and present ourselves in good form and good taste. And that we always leave our campground the same way we found it. He says these natural laws are important. He said, whatever you do, don't dig around the ground. He says there's great beings that live inside the ground. That's what he told me. He said during our treaties, we shared our natural laws with the settlers, not to dig in the ground, to respect the animals, to respect our way of life and our path. He says that's what happened a long time ago. He said, but today the two-legged are lost. He says they followed their own path and they're digging in the ground. He says the power that's in the ground is too powerful. It's too powerful for us. If we take that power up, it can destroy the whole earth. So he says, I'm going to tell you a story of what happened a long time ago, of when the two-legged try to destroy everything. He says that sacred site that hangs in the sky is a reminder of our true path here on earth and our connection to this great land. He said all people are the same. All people are bound to this great law. Every human being is bound to this law. He says every culture, when they go back into their histories far enough, they too have this law. They too have their songs and their dances and their celebrations and their offerings. He says, remember that. There's knowledge all over the earth. He said, years ago, we lost our way. It happened one time because somebody was picking blueberries. And they seen a patch off in the distance that was away from an animal trail. So they made their own trail to that new blueberry patch. And they got a whole bunch of blueberries. Lots and lots of them. More than they needed. And they didn't share them with anybody. So he got a lot of bugagogamish, they call it, which is this type of fern. He put all that bugagogamish on those blueberries to try to keep them fresh, because that's what they do. But they start to spoil. Somebody seen that person go get those extra blueberries, and they made a trail. Next thing you know, somebody else made a trail. Next thing you know, everybody in the village start to make their own trails in the bush. And they start to get more of everything. Pretty soon there was blueberries. They were just scattered all over the village. They were just rotting. Then people started to get more fish. People started to get more moose. People started to get more beaver. And everything started to rot in the village. They started to get sick in their mind. That was a sickness. Trying to want everything is a sickness. Trying to always have more was a sickness. They say that sickness came from somebody that walks in the sky. We can't see them. They say this very sacred person that walks in the sky can make people sick like that. He said this person came down to earth and made people like that. And so they started to get very sick and very greedy. And pretty soon there was just bones rotting all over the land. The animals were scared. The human beings didn't stop. They just kept taking and taking and taking and taking. It was horrible what happened. The animals were scared. But there was an old man in the sky. They call this man Babunanine. It means the wintering man. That man looked down on the earth from a distance and seen how the two-legged were trying to destroy everything, their greediness. So he had a plan. He thought, with my cold breath, my very cold breath, my sacred breath, I'm going to blow my breath down on the earth, and I'm going to cast medicine across the lands. And I'm going to freeze those humans, and I'm going to kill them. That's what he said. He says, I want to kill those humans, because if I can kill them, I'll kill that greediness that they carry in their hearts. I'll kill their bad ways. So that's what this old man started to do. He started to blow his breath down on the earth, his cold, sacred breath. But there was a power here on earth that was just as strong as the old man's breath, if not even stronger. And it was the little birds, the little Beneshiwak. Those tiny little birds, when they sang their songs, they casted medicine over everything. When they sang their songs, medicine went into the hard to reach places of the earth. Nothing can escape their medicine. So the old man knew that the world couldn't freeze like he wanted it to because those bird songs were too powerful. So he thought, I can't freeze the earth with those birds there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get all of those birds, put them in a big bag, and I'm going to store them in my lodge in the stars. That's where that old man lived. That old man lived way up in the stars in Guidnong. So that old man in his wigwam, he grabbed a big bag. And, hey, Lawrence, you gotta it's 10 feet, buddy. 10, you can't come in the house. You can't come in the house, you gotta leave it there. Just leave it right there. Social distancing. It's important. 10 feet, Lawrence. Sorry about that. 10 feet. Anyway, so this old man, he went to his lodge and he grabbed a big bag and he came down to the earth and he got all of those birds into his bag. All of them. And he tied it up and he brought up all those birds into his lodge in the stars. Once he knew those birds were gone, he knew that he could just blow his breath and freeze everything. And that's what he did. He started to blow his breath down on the earth. Everything on the earth started to freeze. The ice started to melt and the ice started to grow. The birds that tried to melt his breath before, that power was no longer there. So the old man had full power to freeze the earth. And that ice grew and grew and grew. Everything on the earth started to perish. There used to be a beautiful green blanket here that was filled with life that covered this earth. Everything is weaved into that blanket like this. Everything was connected into that green blanket of life. But the more that old man blew his breath, the more that green blanket had started to wither and die. Pretty soon there was ice everywhere. Pretty soon everything started to die. All of the plants started to die. The humans, the animals, the fish. Even the sun wasn't shining like it used to. The old man was powerful. He just kept on blowing his breath. But there was a little animal they called Ojig. It's called a fisher. Fisher's like a smaller version of a wolverine. And so Fisher decided, I'm going to call on a council meeting, the four-legged and the two-legged. And we're going to talk about what is going on and how we can fix things. So of course Fisher ran around with tobacco, gave all the animals in the forest tobacco as an offering, as an invitation to come to this great council meeting. Fisher even went to the two-legged, the human being, and gave them tobacco and said, meet us here. Well, of course, 4 days' time, Fisher made a fire. It was dark. And one by one, the animals started to come out of the shadows, and they started to form a great big circle. And before you know it, thousands of animals had come, and they formed a great big council meeting. The Anishinaabe never showed up. The two-legged never showed up. But the animals quickly identified, the old ones, that the reason why this is happening is because that sickness that came from the sky, it came down, and while people were sleeping, it went into their mouths, and it made them sick. We have to make offerings to the sickness so it goes away. We have to make petitions to the sickness so it goes away. But the old man is also trying to kill the humans. But we're also getting killed too. So we have to do what we can. We have to try to save the earth. And so it was decided that 4 animals were going to go on a warrior's quest to save the earth. The first animal that was chosen was Porcupine. Porcupine was chosen first because it was the first one that volunteered. Porcupine said, "Look at me. I have a strong back. I'm not fast, but I have a good heart. And I want to go. And I believe I can help." The oldest elders of those animals, they deliberated and they talked and they said, "Aha, Porcupine, you are granted to go because you are brave. You are the first one to come up and say that you would go on this great quest to save the earth." Then they chose Otter because Otter is fast. Call Otter Nagig. They said, "Nagig, you're so fast. Your teeth are so sharp. You're a good fighter. You always defend your family. You're a good warrior. We choose you." Then they looked at Lynx, Bijou. They told Lynx, they said, "Lynx, look at your back legs. They're so strong. You're so slippery. And you're very sneaky and you're quiet. You'd be great for this mission." And the 4th animal they chose was Fisher, Ojig. They said, "You're the one that called this meeting. You're the one that has the vision. And it's strong. You should follow it through and go with them. What we want you to do is climb a high mountain. Once you get to that high mountain, I want you to jump to the stars. Once you all get to the stars, you can zigzag across them. Go to where that old man lives. Get those birds back. Bring them back down to the earth so they can sing their songs and melt all of the ice. And of course, negotiate with that old man, Baboonanine, and try to convince him to stop blowing his breath. Because there's still good people on the earth, and all of the animals and plants are dying. And we need the birds for everything to live. So that was their mission. So they sang them songs. They prayed for them. Made offerings in the fire. And those 4 animals left off into the darkness and started to climb that high mountain. Once they got to the top of that mountain, they knew that Porcupine couldn't jump. So they grabbed Porcupine by the arms and legs and they threw Porcupine up. Porcupine was spiraling up into where the stars were, but didn't quite make it. There's a power that covers the earth. They call that power Gijikdong. You can't see it, but it's there. Porcupine hit that power just before it got to the star world. It came crashing down to the earth. And when it landed, it busted its arms, its legs and feet. That's why when you see Porcupine walking around, its feet are all swollen and they're kind of crooked and bent. Looks like they're busted and stars. But it never made it. It hit it hard. But it came back down to the earth. And when it landed on its stomach. And it slid all the way down that mountain on its stomach. That's why otters slide around today. It's to remind us of what happened a long time ago. When we took too much and we never gave nothing back. When we took too much from the earth and never gave nothing back. The next animal to make that jump was Bijou the lynx. Lynx thought, those two other animals didn't make it through. I'm going to jump as hard as I can to try to bust through that tower. So Lynx ran and jumped, and it hit its face right into that tower, trying to bust through the spirit world, the star world. And it never made it through. It crashed into it, but Lynx came down. And when it came spiraling down to Earth, it landed on a sharp piece of ice, and its beautiful long tail got cut off. That's why they just got a little tail today. It's to remind us of what happened a long time ago, when the human being, when the two-legged lost their way, when they started to form their own government, they started to ignore government that the land gives us. They're not going to go in on it. The only animal left on that mountain was Fisher. Fisher is also the smallest of the animals. So Fisher thought, if I'm going to do this, what would my grandparents tell me? Fisher thought and prayed for a long time. Finally, the answer came to Fisher. The answer was this: if you want something, you have to give something for it. And so Fisher started to dig around the ice and snow, and it found 6 frozen bearberries. Frozen. So Fisher grabbed those berries, and with those berries, made a petition to the universe, made a petition to the great sky world, and said, there's sickness here. The old man is freezing everything. I offer these berries to the great powers to help us, so that we can make things go back to a good way, so that we could follow a good path again. And Fisher threw those berries up into the darkness, and Fisher jumped. As Fisher jumped, it looked up, and when it looked up, it noticed something. There was a crack in Ejigdong. There was a crack in that tower. The other animals made a crack. So when Fisher was going up, it gained more momentum, and it hit that thing just right. It busted that tower, and it busted a hole in it. And they call that hole Gijik, Bogano Gijik, the great hole in the sky. Fisher was able to bust through. So Fisher sat in the star world, quietly watched, and looked all the way across the stars, seeing that old man's wigwam. And sure enough, there was something guarding outside that wigwam. It was a big crane, Jajak. A great big crane was guarding. It was to alert that old man that if anybody was to come to get those birds, it would say something, it would yell. A crane is a loud animal. So Fisher thought, there's no way I can just go up there. I have to do something. So Fisher climbed through Bugano Gijik, the hole in the sky. It went down to the earth. And it got a bunch of Gowan Buckbigyu, spruce gum, the sticky stuff from the tree. It got a big glob of it. And it climbed up through Bugano Gijik, the hole in the sky. Started to zigzag across the stars. And it snuck behind Crane. But Crane knew something was behind, so it turned around. It seen Fisher and it opened its great big mouth. It was going to yell to let the old man know that somebody was after those birds in his lodge. As it opened its big mouth, Fisher grabbed that spruce gum and shoved it right into Crane's big mouth, all the way down his throat. Well, Crane tried to scream, but the only noise that came out was this. Just a little noise. But the old man in the lodge knew. Something is outside. Something is trying to get these birds. So the old man turned around to grab his bow and arrow. And when he turned back out to go outside, he noticed the birds were gone. Fisher had already grabbed those birds and was running across the sky. Fisher got to that hole, and started to pour those birds down that hole. Those birds start to flutter all over the land. They start to sing their songs, casting medicine everywhere. Everything started to melt. And as Fisher was pouring those birds, it heard a noise. A very powerful noise. A noise that would ring through the ages. A noise that you could probably hear now if you listen for it in the sky. The noise I'm talking about is the snapping of the old man's bowstring. As Fisher was pouring those birds down that hole, the old man had him lined up with his bow and arrow and let one arrow go. Fisher heard that noise and it jumped, trying to escape it. But those old men, his arrows were so powerful. They could go to the end of the earth no problem, and they always hit their mark. And that arrow followed Fisher, and it got Fisher right in the tail. Because those arrows were so powerful, they just killed Fisher. And Fisher laid upside down in the sky, dead. The old man was happy. The old man thought, all I have to do now is go back down to the earth and get those birds. All I have to do is get them and put them in a bag again, store them in my lodge in the stars, and blow my breath, and I'll freeze everything again. There's not going to be no more heroes this next time. So the old man went into his lodge to get another bag. But when he was in his lodge, something very mysterious happened. He could hear a noise, a buzzing noise on the top of his lodge where that smoke hole is. All of a sudden, that buzzing noise, it got louder. 6 mysterious lights appeared. And as those lights, as they started to come down, they turned into human form. And each one of them a red berry in their hand. And they said, we are the 6 powers of the universe. And we watched everything from a distance. We've seen how the 2-legged lost their way, how they became greedy, how they got sick, by that sickness that walks in the sky. We've seen how the animals died, how they tried to save everything. We've seen the beautiful green blanket wilt away that everything is connected to. And we also seen how the birds were kidnapped and took hostage so that their medicine wouldn't float around the earth, find sickness and heal it. We've seen it all. And so here's what we've decided. For half the year, old man, you can blow your breath on the earth. Blow your cold breath on them to remind the humans that they have to be kind, generous, that they can't lose their way. Remind them that they have to follow the original instructions, the original trails, that they have to follow the sacred laws. Remind them. But for the other half of the year, we're going to let the birds sing their sacred songs and cast medicine all over the earth so that things could live and flourish, and so that green blanket could come back, give life to everything. And to commemorate Fisher for what it's done, we're going to turn Fisher into stars. And they turned Fisher into the Big Dipper. And that was so. The old man agreed and said, "Now, I made a mistake. You are wise. You're much wiser than I am. I will do what you say. And I thank you for your good advice." And so, of course, those spirits, they turned back into lights. and they left back into the universe. And so today, when you see the Big Dipper, the fall time, the Big Dipper's on its back. Blood drips from its tail. It drips down to the earth. That blood, it paints the trees red. Then the old man blows his breath to remind us that we have to give everything to everything. That if we take something, we have to replace it. That the animals are always to be our government. That the sacred trails that are on this earth that the animals make, that's where we'll find our true life. So that's why when the Big Dipper's upside down, the old man blows his breath. We're reminded of that. And then in the springtime, you'll see the Big Dipper go back up onto its feet. And it's running across the sky towards Buggenogijik. And the birds start singing their songs. Water gushes, medicine everywhere. Those songs, they go into all the hard-to-reach places on Earth, and they bring life to everything. And everything flourishes again. That's the sacred site my grandfather was telling me. He said, that up there, Ojiganung. He says, that's a sacred place. He says, always remember that. Whenever you see those stars, he says, be reminded of your own path here. Wear your moccasins. Make sure you have flowers on your moccasins so that you can walk in a good way. So that when you walk, you can walk gentle. Here, be careful where you walk. He says, be good to all creation. Don't take anything that you don't need and don't bust anything. That's what he told me. He says that sacred site that hangs in the sky teaches us a lot about our life here. He says everything up there in the sky world is just a reflection of what's here. It's a map. We call that Muznagan. He says in that Muznagan, that map, there's all sorts of Muznabiaganan, which are pictures. He says those pictures have spirits and they're alive. He says those spirits, he says feast them. Give them food. When you talk about them, give them a gift so that they can continue to do that good work for our people generation after generation. He says that's the right thing to do. He says those animals gave us a lot. He says right now in this world, he says that maybe it seems like you can't do nothing. Maybe it seems like everything that you do doesn't make a difference. He says, but I'll tell you something. If it wasn't for the strong back of porcupine, if it wasn't for the sharp teeth of otter, the strong back legs of lynx, Fisher never would have made it through. He says everything that you do right now is going to make a difference. He says, so be brave. Take that jump. He says, because right now we're in a sacred story. He says 1,000 years from now, they're going to look back at time, history right now. They're going to be sitting around their fires. An old man is going to be telling their grandson this story of when the two-legged lost their way again and tried to destroy everything. He says, you're a part of this story. He says, go back. Follow the original instructions. He says, if the story is about greed, is about overtaking, it's about destroying everything. He says, be the opposite. Give. Be generous. Build beautiful. He says, instead of trying to tear down things that are ugly, build things that are beautiful. And always remember that you're a part, only a part of this great law. He says that's what that picture that hangs in the sky tells us. That sacred site that shines for us every single day reminds us. That's what he told me. He says we come from there. He says we have a lot of power inside of us as we come from there. He says each one of us has medicine inside of us, a gift. He says don't be conformed by everything. Don't let people tell you how to be. The highest form of success we can have is to have a beautiful land, to have clean water, fish, animals. That's what he told me. He says the earth will be restored one day. He says, never forget that, my grandson. And you know what? I never did. And since that time, I've told this story 555,000 times. So thank you, Jody, for the opportunity. It's always an honor to share these stories. It's an honor to be reminded myself of what my purpose is, what my path is. And we know that the globalization of Western education has wiped out Indigenous knowledges all over the en masse. So every time we get together and we're able to share that Indigenous knowledge with each other, you know, it doesn't matter where we're from. It starts putting the pieces back together. The colonial experiment has failed. It's our diversity. It's who we are that gives us strength. You know, everybody's people live their life without a garbage can at one time. Every people on this earth have understood these natural laws, understood how to live with earth. It wasn't that long ago. So I encourage all of you to find out who you really truly are. What's your special gift? Feast that gift. You know, feast those spirits, those sacred sites that hang above our heads every night. And from that, we'll get knowledge and understanding on what to do next. So thank you for listening. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this story. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Oh, miigwech, Isaac. It's always such a pleasure to listen to you. And I'm sure everyone would agree with me that we could sit for hours and just listen to you share. So thank you again for sharing that story. I do want to, I'm just going to screen share something because as you were talking, I forgot about this. So I'm going to just, and I think it's helpful for me because I'm such a visual person, to see what's actually happening when you tell the story. So Isaac, feel free to, speak to this, but I've showed you this before, but this is actually an image, a little time lapse that you can see through the entire year. And something I wanted to, and kind of what the driving force behind this resource, before we get into it, is to really try and showcase to people that through colonialism, stories have been relegated down to just like myths and legends, and has this kind of inferiority attachment to it. And that's all part of the colonial project, right? Is to downplay Indigenous knowledge, so it doesn't seem so it's not considered as in the same light as Western education or Western sciences. So this is actually, so you'll see here, this depiction is, this is actually, there's the fisher, you can see with the arrow there in his tail, that's the Big Dipper. And when you play it through the sky and you're looking at it and you'll watch it revolve, I don't know, Isaac, if you want to speak to this, but I'm going to just share, I'm going to play it so you can see.
Yeah.
So this is actually, so this is the fall time. So if you remember, right, like in the story, what's happening? And as it moves, so the winter, so here we have the winter maker coming out into the sky. And so again, if you remember in the story, what does he do? He takes away all the songbirds. And so this is the time of winter. And as the Wintermaker, as he now descends under the horizon, so you don't see him in the night sky anymore. Look at the Dipper. So remember how he was saying, you know, that's the time that the birds came down back through the hole, sang their songs, and then it is the beginning of spring. And I just want to also, on a side note, there was a documentary produced and research around the disappearance of songbirds and their inability to migrate properly. And they made a direct correlation between the decline in songbirds and climate change. And so these stories this isn't just a cute little story about, you know, about the birds getting taken into the star world and then coming back onto the earth. There's actual science, geography, so much is involved in this deeper understanding of these relationships and cycles. And then so here we now are moving into the summer months. And then again, completing that cycle where coming into the fall, where the fishers shot and killed, and then that blood that comes down and paints the trees. I don't know if you wanted to add anything to that, Isaac?
Well, I think there's a relationship between Buganogijic, the hole in the sky, and so you know the top of a, say, we'll use a teepee for example, or a wigwam. The top of the hole, it represents Buganogijic. So our lodges were made to connect to Buganogijic, and our lodges were made to be connected celestially. And so a lot of our poles were pointed up to certain stars at certain times of the year so that we could be connected to them in that way. And when I was born, my mother explained this to me. She said, my water broke. Water came out of Buganogijic. And so that's what she called it. She says, water came through Buganogijic. And then life came out after. He says, just like a bird, you sounded your first breath to the world. And so through Buganogijic in the sky, the water comes down. And of course, life comes of it. And the birds sound their voice.
I hear it coming from somewhere.
And so there's a large relationship between the sky and how we live here. And so before, when our homes, like the wigwam, it never changed for like thousands and thousands and tens of thousands, 20,000 years. They stayed the same because their lodges kept them connected to the sky, which of course connected them to the natural laws that surround everything. And so they didn't need to evolve. They kept everything the same. It was a perfect design. Once the human beings, they started to create their own lodges that weren't compatible with the stars. That's when they say we lost our teachings. We got lost right away because we're not living connected to like how we used to. And so the old people always said one day the human beings will go back to their traditional lodges. That's what they always said. And that it's all connected through Buganogijic to the hole in the sky and to that star world that's there. So, you know, that's what they say. Right now, we are going through a massive ecological collapse. We are in abrupt climate change. It's very serious, as we all know. This is different than 1985. We're seeing the results of mass pollution and mass human-made catastrophic stuff. And so we need to try to encourage another type of human being. We need to try to empower another type of human being. because right now there is no sustainable economic engines that are running the country. Everything is based on resource extraction. And so we have to educate our kids the natural laws that are here. Nothing can survive here unless they're connected to those natural laws. And those natural laws can be interpreted in many different ways. This is only the Anishinaabe Odzoan version of a natural law. There's many different ways that we can describe these laws. But more importantly, it's not good enough just to teach them. We have to show them. We have to take our children on the land. We have to fight the systems that prevent this from happening. And we need to reconnect our young people back to that spirit that's there. Nobody is immune, or nobody is not allowed to go there. Every human being has a right to be connected to the earth and be connected to those very sacred things that govern everything. And so, we need to start taking our young people and showing them the magic. We need to show them the medicine. We need to show them the sacred sites that hang in the sky. That's how we're going to change the human being, is by giving them another form of education. When I was younger, everybody says you have to do this, you have to do that. But my grandparent says, no, he's going to do this instead. That's what he wants to do. Every child has a gift. What is that gift? So we nourish that gift so that they could be the best person that they can be with whatever their gift is. Not everybody is the same. And not everybody should learn the same. That's why education is so critical, and it's so important that we get it right, that we find the flexibility to be able to inspire our young people to not only believe in themselves and their own gifts, but to believe in others. Because that's one of our biggest problems as human beings, is we don't support each other. Everybody's in their own little silos, in their own little offices, in their own little classrooms, and you got all this bickering going on, and nobody's supporting nobody. That needs to stop, because right now we need these young people to rise up. We need them to be able to work together and lift each other up and build each other up and to find the good things about each other. That's why diversity is so critical. Because when you look at diversity, especially in the greater Toronto area, there's so much diversity. Can you just imagine if all of that traditional knowledge came out and it was used, and it was feasted, and it was supported, and it was celebrated? And if that all came out, it would transform so much. This colonial robot that just keeps marching and marching and marching. We're the ones that give it power. We're the ones that give it a heartbeat. And I truly believe that if we can teach our young people a different way, show them a different thing, they're going to come out different. We're not all factory workers for the machines. That sort of thinking, should have died in 1952. But for some reason, we keep doing this over and over again. But I believe that our young people now are ready for change. But the question is, are the teachers ready? The question is, are the bosses ready? We need a revolution. This is the time when this is a sacred story that we're in. We need a revolution of the heart, a revolution of the mind, something where people create such a strong movement for change that we do change things. When you look at COVID-19, look at the environmental impacts of people staying home and living just minimally. It's astonishing to see the environmental impacts. We need to try to strive for another form of success. Maybe success isn't having the big house and the 2 cars and the 3 TVs and being, stuck in a mortgage and and being stuck to the bank forever. Maybe that's not it. What is success in a time of abrupt climate change and a time when there's a massive worldwide ecological collapse? Our success and our worldview needs to change. And not only Indigenous people can help, but all people can help. Everybody has something to contribute. And this is when we need to unite all of that good medicine together and do what we can to save this planet. I believe that we can do it. Thank you.
So what a perfect segue into where this came from and where we're going with it. So you'll see on the screen, these were the murals that ended up getting painted that told the story. And we decided after that was finished that we needed to do more with this. And so that led to this creation of this resource. And it also, as we hoped that it would inspire people to be thinking about all of these things that Isaac just shared about and how we can do this in our classroom, but also do this in a way that is respectful of Indigenous knowledge, and not, cross the line into appropriation, because the reality is there's a lot of weird stuff out there in Google. Like, you can Google all kinds of interesting versions of stories and knowledges and things that are not accurate. So we always say you have to go right to the source, and so this resource was kind of an answer to that. We also, so when we sat down and talked about, okay, what could we do? As I'm sure you heard in the story, there are so many lessons to take from it and so many themes, but we decided to focus on these 7 themes in particular. And we also recognize the opportunity here to really lean on inquiry, lean on cross-curricular planning, so that there's opportunities to not get stuck in silos of teaching, like at 9:15 to 9:52 is my math time, and then my next section is art, and then the next section is whatever that subject is, so that it's looking at exploring through inquiry and then bringing it all together in a cross-curricular approach. Also, because we work in a Catholic system, we look at, how do we lean on our Catholic social teachings that, the number one is around human dignity. And when we look at some of the other components to that, subsidiarity really is what we have a slogan that we say is nothing about us without us. So how do we work in partnership and in relationship with community and those who hold that knowledge? So as an example, how we've tied it together using Nancy Rowe, who's one of our community members that we work with, tying it into our Virtues program. So this is a little snippet. And then here is, I'm going to actually move into the actual resource. Let me go on to the website here. So this is the website. And you'll see on the front page here, you'll see there's 3 sections. So we're going to focus on this one here, Lessons from the Earth. This one actually will take you to a link through that resource we did last summer before. Oh my goodness, time's weird. But yeah, so this is a resource that is based on a resource that we put together on water. And then this is a newer one. It's live, but it's not complete. So you'll notice that if you take a look in there. So if we click on this, Lessons from the Earth, and we dive into here, it'll bring you to this main menu. This is just the background on it, which we've talked about. Some important notes on when we're going to be using the story. So again, just talking about what I was just mentioning there. Some things that it's really important, some notes on Indigenous knowledge systems are in here. And I want to just go back to in here. So this is where we've broken it down into primary, junior, intermediate, and the Fisher story. And we are working on a updated version, but if you, obviously it's best to hear the story directly from Isaac, but since we can't always have Isaac right at our fingertips, what we did was we created this video, and I'll just play you a little bit of it so that you can hear.
For most of human history, we have had clean water and a pristine environment. We lived in harmony with nature. There were times, however, when we lost our way and became greedy and selfish. Each time that happened, the animals and the environment suffered, as well as the humans. Each time that happened, we learned a lesson. Once again, we have lost our way. The animals and the environment are not the only ones suffering, so are we. There is hope if we can learn from the lessons in this story.
Ani buju, mantanap kinagego nabe Indigenous Kanabajing and Dunjaba.
And so from here you can, so
My
Isaac
name
goes
is
on to
Isaac
share the
Murdoch.
story.
I'm from Serpent River First Nation, and I'm from the Fish Clan.
And as he's sharing the story, it's overlaid with images of things like that. So you can bring this right into your classroom. You can download the transcribed version. But again, we're giving this a bit of a facelift. I'm not sure when it'll be done, but it's coming. And then depending on what area you teach in, you can go into, we'll go into junior, for example, junior grades. They all kind of start out with this. If you want to hear what the word sounds like, there's little sound bites. And again, all three are organized in this way. So they all start with this beginning understandings of Anishinaabe. And then you can click on, you can go through them one by one, or you can click on one of them and it will bring you, let's go into this one actually. I think we wanted to look at this. So this is a really good, and so you can use these independently or you can use them with the story. And for example,
So I think it's also very, very unnatural to believe that we can manage the earth. That's such an odd concept because we don't manage Mother Earth. Mother Earth, she manages us. She's such a great force, like a great force of nature. And we've somehow managed to think that we can control her, make her act certain ways, manipulate her to our benefit.
so these are really great. You can use them as provocations and play the video and then have, you know, conversations with your students and connect it to all kinds of things. Then you'll see under each one, there's these related videos. So there's a whole library bank of other knowledge keepers and elders that have contributed to this project. And so I'm going to turn it over now to Kevin because he's going to show you, for example, again, if we go back into here and I'll, let me just click on this one, for example. So he's going to show how you can go from here and put it right into, use this in an online classroom. And on the website itself, you'll see for the junior and intermediate sections, you'll see here it's got this section called Online Learning Suggestions. And typically online, we have a content section, a discussion section, and an assignment section. So the idea is you can use this or use it as an inspiration or an idea into your online classroom. So I'm going to stop my screen share and Kevin's going to take it from here and show you as an example of that.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. Hello, everyone. So I'm just very quickly going to show you how you can take from the resource that we saw online. Okay, Jody's giving me instructions from the sidelines here. So just I'm going to show you very quickly how you can take from the website and pull into our new virtual learning reality into either Google Classroom or Brightspace, as those seems to be the two main virtual learning environments that we use. So this is obviously Google Classroom. So in classwork, I basically created a topic, very simply called it Lessons from the Earth. You could obviously be very more creative. And then posted an assignment, and in this case, basically was making a connection to the Sacred Fisher story that we just heard Isaac so brilliantly tell, and then embedded the link that takes students to the video that Jody had just shown, where they can listen and watch Isaac tell the story, and sort of some anticipation guide type questions that I would maybe have students think about before watching the video. And then again, I could, or you could design a post viewing sort of activity where kids could reflect on their own relationship to the natural world. What are some of the questions, or what are some of the teachings that they heard or were able to take from the story? And again, in this case, it's created as an assignment. And you can see it here. So there's the instructions again. And again, that's basically it. Very, very simply just showing you how you can extract from the website and build it very easily into an activity or a task in Google Classroom. Similarly, in Brightspace, within the content area, I've built a section that looks at the Lessons from the Earth resource. And then again, I just kind of mimicked what I did in Google Classroom. So I built out an example of that same activity that connects to the Fisher story. And then in Brightspace, we have access to some other tools like a discussion area. So in this case, I built in a link. So after watching the video, students could go to the discussion area. And then I've given them 2 questions to kind of think about and respond to. And then with the intent that in the discussion, students could respond to each other's threads and hopefully initiate a bit of an ongoing discussion where they can talk about their reactions and connections to the story that Isaac told. And that's pretty much it. So if you've got any questions, I'm happy to field them. You can always email me questions if you're having some technical wonderings about either Brightspace or Google Classroom. I can help you out as best I can. And with that, I'm going to throw things back over to Jody.
So I'm going to just pause. Well, there's a couple of questions in the chat box here, and I'm also going to just pause in terms of if anybody has some particular questions so far. I shared the link to this website, Lessons from Earth and Beyond.ca. Hopefully that works. Somebody was saying it's not working. Oh, I typed it in wrong. 1 second. Let me just go and copy and paste that so that you all have that correct. It's odd. And then when we, the recording, hopefully this works. The recording will be posted, we'll send out the link and we will post that on our school board website. I provided the link. That's where we post everything in regards to Indigenous education. But if anybody had any questions right now, if you want to just pop them in the chat. So again, we really wanted to emphasize with this resource, going to primary sources for information, and it's always best to work directly with people, live humans like Isaac. But if not, then to really, this was kind of our next best alternative, is to provide this in a way that you can bring in these conversations in your classroom. And especially for, this did start in secondary, although the resource is primarily elementary centered, and it did start in the secondary panel. We wanted to also, as we're having these new conversations in the classroom, that's really important in terms of understanding the impacts of colonization. We want to also counter that with positive narratives and understandings of Indigenous peoples, knowledge systems, and the contributions. And so this is, a really great way we can do this. And I think about, my children in classrooms. I want them learning and being inspired by the beauty and the sophistication of knowledge that, for example, in this example, the Anishinaabe have. I don't know if Isaac, you want to add anything else to that?
Yes, absolutely. I think, did I send you the Ojibwe version of the story as well, Jody?
You did, and I was thinking of that as I'll double check to see if that link links it to the more recent PDF or not. I'm not sure. I'll have to go back and double check. If it doesn't, I can swap it out for the new one.
Okay, great. So for the teachers out there, there's soon there's going to be an Anishinaabe version of the story. We recognize that Indigenous languages really need to be attached to a lot of our resources that we create, simply because the school systems that are in place now have an ethical and moral responsibility to assist and help with language revitalization for Indigenous people. And so right now, they estimate that 70 to 80% of our children are not on reserves. They're actually in mainstream school systems. And so language is vital for them. And so I really was pushing hard to have the story transcribed into Anishinaabe, which we did, and it was provided, so that if you have a group of Ojibwe children that you're working with, then this could be also used as a language resource for them as well. And so I just wanted to share that as well, that the English language only gives so much, and that it's through our Indigenous languages that we receive a more fuller and more experience of what the story means. And so there's lots of lessons. And so, of course, when we started this project many years ago, we broke down several words that we thought were important, and we broke those words down linguistically to show how important the language is for the story. And so, yeah, Jody, if you can get that on there, that would be great. For all of you that are considering making resources, try to include Indigenous language somehow. We're doing a great injustice by not doing that. We have an ethical and moral responsibility to put resources into the revitalization of Indigenous languages. And so I know that right now things are not set up in the perfect way to do that. So that means struggle. But, when we work hard enough and when we believe in something, we can do anything. And so, language is critical for any Indigenous story, for Indigenous knowledge. And so I just wanted to say that part as well. Thank you.
Yeah, so I did notice it's still the older version, so I'm going to fix that as we speak, and I'll put in there. Also, in the website, let me go back and screen share so I can show you. So in here, you will see, let me go to this one here, additional stories. And so here are some other stories that Isaac has contributed as well that also has the language in it. And one of the things that we've talked about doing is having it recorded so that you can hear it, like what the actual, because it's one thing to try and read that, but it's a whole other to hear what it says. So we've got that in the plans and to work on as well. And then Andrea Eby, I know you're somewhere in here. I don't know if you wanted to comment because I know you've been actively using this resource.
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. Yeah, I am actually still using this resource on Google Classroom at this time. The kids love it. It's super user-friendly, both from an educator standpoint and a student standpoint. We had started using it before we went off, so the kids are fairly comfortable with accessing the videos and the activities. I've made my own slide deck actually that goes along with this, and I have my own teacher notes. But last year, it actually inspired us to revitalize our old computer lab in the library. So there's some amazing opportunities to take this into much bigger scopes. But as Jody said, it's a wonderful resource, especially for inquiry and for connecting to other curriculum links. So I'm excited actually about this new platform, and I can't wait to have a little bit more time to look through it. So thank you, Jody.
Thank you. And of course, we're always open to hearing your feedback as if you're using these in your classroom. So we're always open to improving and updating and adding. So, and I know that in the primary grades, there's a lot of interest and need for what can I do in my primary grades? And so, you know, kids love listening to stories. And so even, and I think, you know, what I love about the kindergartens and grade 1s and 2s and even 3s and higher is getting them to show us, asking them to, you know, if when you listen to the trees outside, what do you hear? What are they saying? You know, because kids still speak tree. We as adults, we've become very disconnected and don't have that ability anymore. But yeah, so there's lots of stuff in here and all kinds of connections to different things. So feel free to navigate through that and use it. And I guess, Isaac, maybe we'll just give, I know we're running out of time here, but I think we should give a little sneak peek to our latest, which is this one here, Lessons from Beyond. So this follows the same kind of format. I don't know, Isaac, do you want to say anything about this? I don't know if he's there, but all right, I'll just keep talking. Anyway, so again, just like the other resource, it's structured in a way that there's a piece for educators around this. It's really important that you take the time to educate yourself about colonialism, and we're really trying to, again, move out of what has typically been the cultural realm. So, you know, we don't want to see teachers teaching about culture or spirituality or those things. We want to, you know, always ask yourself if, you know, when I present this information, will students see it as being presented as Indigenous peoples coming from complex, sophisticated civilizations? Because that's what we want to do. So, of course, as I mentioned, it's not quite finished, but the idea around this one is stemming from Indigenous knowledge and mathematics, and it's looking at revitalizing our star knowledge. And so basically it takes students through a little journey where they will hear, and it's all based on our connection to the stars, and it's our contributors. So there's Isaac, Dea Hande, who's one of the elders we work with, who's Mohawk. We have a Maori contributions, Dene from the Navajo Nation. And then we also have a partnership with NASA as well. And so it's this beautiful, it's like entering into conversation with Indigenous knowledge systems and other knowledge systems such as mathematics, science, basically the STEAM fields, and how can they come together and support one another. And then we have these cute little characterizations of the knowledge keepers that basically help students go on a journey. And so I'll just play you really quickly. Where's Isaac's here? I love this one. So this is just to give you a little snippet. So eventually this will reside in a virtual reality format, and we plan to pilot that out through our system where students will get to put on the goggles and they will be immersed in this really cool VR experience. And again, it's to have this provocation to make the connections into other areas that we teach in, but how can we really thrust Indigenous knowledge and recenter it, and it be the driving force for student learning. So I realize here we are come to the end of our session.
Yeah,
I don't know if
are.
Isaac, do you want to add any final words?
I just want to thank everybody for tuning in. I also want to give thanks for just all of the hard work and effort that everybody's put into these resources. It's just incredible to see, just how much work has been done. And, it just makes my heart happy to know that this is happening. And for all of you that are plugged in, this resource was made for you, so feel free to use it. And, hopefully it helps. And, we're always here to help along and to answer any questions. So feel free to reach out. And I just, I'm tickled pink. I'm just tickled pink. And so I just want to thank everybody for coming in and doing this. And I want to thank, everybody that's involved. Thank you very much. This is really cool.
Thank you.
Whoever thought this story would be like this?
Thank you, Isaac. I think we're all tickled pink right now with the learning and passion that's happening right now. I just added to the chat the exit ticket for the session. If you have a chance to fill it out, just gives us some feedback on how we can direct our next webinars coming up. Stay tuned. There's more webinars to come. So we're looking forward. I think the next one's on Thursday, and with the topic of truth and reconciliation. Jody, do you want to say anything about that before we go, or?
Yeah, sure. And also we'll email you the link to the exit ticket, because I know sometimes it's awkward to be in here and navigate the chat and everything. So we'll send you that link, and we'll send you the link to the recording. But our Thursday webinar is diving into the newest resources from the First Nation Métis Inuit Education Association of Ontario, and our guest presenter is Tisa Fiddler, who's an amazing educator from Thunder Bay. She does my job up in Thunder Bay, Catholic board there, and so we'll showcase that resource for you as well. And then there's more coming. So we've got a exciting month of April, but we plan on going into May with different topics as well. So we'll keep this going, and I wish you all health and safety, and have a good day.
Yeah, stay tickle pig. Okay, bye everyone.